Hey guys, it's TJ at Code Mortar with another Unity Sabbatical vlog update. It's been a big week. Last 3 days I've built a 2.5D platformer and learned a ton of things, such as prefabs, materials and textures, physics, collision and colliders, key bindings, collider materials, particle effects, triggers, object pooling, UI elements like canvas and text and buttons and images, and time singleton scenes, cameras, sound, and building. I'm so tired. So I'm actually just going to hop into the MacBook, do some screencasting, walk you through the game, and then I'll hop back in and we'll wrap this up. Alright guys, I'm going to give you a quick run through of the gameplay itself. So this is your main menu. The options button does nothing. Sound toggles the sound on and off. So for this, I will turn the sound off just because I'm going to be talking over it and it'll be hard to hear me. And then of course, play takes us into the game itself. So I'll explain the controls before I get in there. Really simple: space to jump, K to shoot, YK. Not really sure. That was, of course, that was the instructor's kind of direction. Could have been any key. Doesn't really matter. You also see when we get in there, there are some on-screen buttons, so you can use those, if you're using this on like a mobile device of any kind. So there's the touch option as well. We'll jump right into the game. So you're gonna hear me spamming the space key a lot, and that's because I'm not a very good video game player. The jump button, you actually have the ability, and if you see what's going on here, you have the ability to jump. You can jump and then do a double jump. So from within the air, you can do a second jump. So I'll jump, jump again, jump, jump again, and run into a bad guy and die. So that's the basics of the mechanics. It's pretty simple. There's the pause button, which obviously pauses the gameplay. Home will take us back to that main interface. Resume will stick with the game I'm currently playing, and replay would start it all over again. So I'll go home, back to the main screen. Alright, so I just want to give you a quick, super quick tour of the Unity application itself. And we're just going to take a quick look around at a few things. So first thing you see on my screen here is a version of that pause interface that we saw. And what this is actually a camera. There's I believe there's actually 3 cameras in this game, or in this one scene. So a game itself is made up of multiple scenes. Too much to get into right now. So we have this one camera. If I double click, I can kind of get a view of the camera. The controls in the editor are, there's a lot. So I can kind of click and drag around. I can click. I can use this tool to move things around. Select back on the camera, so I can now with this directional arrow selected, move things up and down, side to side. I'm gonna undo those, not remember where it was. I can control click, and kind of spin things around in this 3D space. So that's the important thing to remember with Unity is there is a 2D mode obviously, but everything typically is in a 3D space. So I can jump around to some of the other cameras in the game. So the way cameras work is they kind of overlay on top of each other. So this is kind of our main camera, which you see the background image. The background image actually isn't part of the main camera. There's a third camera, which is the background camera. So in this interface, I do have them overlaid on top of each other, but you can see if I focus on the main camera, and if I is it Alt? Yes, Alt click to spin around. So you can see that background image is kind of going away. It's not pivoting with the rest of these items. So we have our dude, our actual character. You can see some sound things attached to him. What these are, these are icons indicating that there are sound elements attached to the player. And if you had heard the sound in the gameplay, when his feet hit the ground, it makes a foot stepping sound. This green kind of 3D block that you see here, this is actually, this area here is set up as a collider so that when the player passes through it, I know that happens and I can do something about it. And in the case of this game, he passes through this when he falls off a platform and falls down the pit. We know that he's passed through that, and then we can do things like decrement the number of the health that he has left and restart the scene as long as that number is still 0 or above. So we also have the BG camera, and we'll spin our perspective around again. So the BG camera is just this background image, and you know, the image connoisseurs will see right away that this image is very easily as a repeating image. So the left side here can be lined up with the right side, and it can just kind of keep scrolling forever. So if I was any good at the game, you would have seen the game, you would have seen that image just slowly repeating like a Flintstones type, you know, 40 couches in the living room kind of thing. So that's kind of the camera system. The other thing I will show quickly is just kind of the general concept of, you know, after I think 4 days of this, how I understand things to work. And basically, I have everything is an object within your hierarchy in the game. So my player is an object, which is this guy, this dude. I am still very bad at mastering the controls. One thing you'll see here is I zoom in and all of a sudden he disappears, and that's just because of where he is on the Z-axis of his camera versus where the background image is on the Z-axis of its camera versus where the two cameras are in my 3D world. Now they all get lined up on top of each other, and it's not a problem in gameplay, but sometimes I get a little confused and zoom kind of through the guy. So I'll just spin around here a bit. And yep, I've completely lost him. There he is. So I can actually just double click and it will kind of focus on him. There he is. So our player, so like I said, this is an object in the hierarchy. Objects can be made up of objects. So there's the lerps, which is the guy himself. He has a bunch of properties over here, namely the material, which is what makes him look like a frog. He also has, there's the root joint, so this is beyond really what I've gotten into so far, but we have, we can kind of explore all the joints of his movement all the way down, and this is this left foot collider, which is attached to his left toe. This is what has a sound. This is what has a sound bound to it right here. This player foot smoke script. So it's, this is actually a script that then triggers a sound. So when the collider, which if I double click, you can see this ball here. So when this passes through or collides with a platform, there's a script set up here to do a thing, and that thing is to create smoke and to play sound. And I believe they're actually probably two separate scripts. But yeah, this will generate the smoke. So again, if I was any good at the game, you'd see it happen a few times. But as he takes a step, a little puff of smoke appears. So we'll come back up to the player level itself. And so these are objects in your hierarchy, like I said. And over here, this panel is it's super scary, super intimidating. But it's actually, the concept is actually kind of simple once you get used to it. For any classical traditional programmers, this might be, you can almost think of these as traits. So it's a collection of properties and functionality and stuff that on their own don't do anything, but they can be attached to an object. In Unity, that's called attaching a component to an object, or to a component to an object, as opposed to adding a trait to a class. So most things on the screen have like transform, things like position, rotation, scale. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Animation, so the player itself has animation. So you can almost think of this as there's an animation trait, and then the functionality of how to get animations, how to choose which animation to play, all that stuff is part of this animation trait. Rigid body is just something that most objects that, well, anything that has to have any kind of physics, gravity, any kind of force, things like that, needs this rigid body, which, you know, you add a component down here, you just type rigid body, and I could click this and add a rigid, of course I already have a rigid body on this, but that instantly adds things like gravity and mass, drag and angular drag. What very important is to have the freeze rotation when you're talking about a character that's walking. Otherwise, as he goes, he just starts kind of rotating. And you know, when I first started with the game, the character would, instead of running, he would just kind of fall down and kind of just keep doing somersaults the whole way through. So that's pretty much it for you know, all I'm going to go over with showing the interface here. The one last thing that I will show is the build settings. So you can see right now, build settings you can easily deploy to all these platforms. And I know that there are others because I know, so you see, for example, like PS4, Xbox One, PS Vita. I know for a fact that you can easily deploy to Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo Wii U. I know that Unity will run on the new Nintendo Switch, but of course, you know, Nintendo's keeping that under wraps for now. It's, you know, it's not open to indie developers yet, I don't think. So I haven't gone through the process. The course hasn't covered anything on deployment yet, so the fact that I've done a couple now to the deployed to WebGL, it's just because it's a pretty simple process. It was pretty easy to figure out. Basically select WebGL, build, and that creates everything you need to have it in a web version. You saw Android was highlighted, and that's because, yes, I did indeed do a build for Android. And yes, indeed, you can download that. Now here's TJ with more. You heard right, guys. You can indeed download this awesome runner game for your Android device with the sweet plus sign icon. Well, that's it for this week, guys. Link to the blog post in the description below with more details on the process, links to the game on web, links to the game on Android, and I'll be back next week with another video, hopefully too, and we'll see you then.